One of the more popular uses of Microsoft Excel is as a tool for data collection, organization, and evaluation. If you've previously used the Microsoft application for this purpose, the dataset displayed on your screen currently probably looks familiar or at least similar to the data that you've worked with in the past. If you have not, the Widget Inventory Control Sheet is a collection of data organized by row and column, where the rows represent single, unique records or transactions, and the columns represent fields of data that are common between all records. When being presented information in this fashion, you will often be asked to organize and evaluate the data in order to predict future events or to analyze previous experience. For our example today, we'll be summarizing the quantity ordered by part number and housed in each of the 3 unique stocking locations. To begin, we select the data that is relevant to our pivot table. We'll select the part number, the stocking location, and the quantity ordered. Once our data set has been selected, we will click on the Insert ribbon and then the Pivot Table button. This displays the Create Pivot Table dialog box. Because we had previously selected our data range, the table range information has been pre-filled. If we had not previously selected, we would be given the option to either drag select or manually enter the cell references at this time. Alternately, if the data had not been housed in an Excel spreadsheet and instead been housed in an external data source, such as Microsoft Access, SQL, or other database products that can be found on PCs and mainframes throughout the business environment, we'd have chosen to select Use an External Data Source, creating connection for obtaining that data. The connection and external data source are covered in a different module. Once we've identified the source area for our pivot table, we are then asked to identify where our pivot table should be displayed. By default, the new worksheet is the option. For today's exercise, we'll be selecting the existing worksheet and placing our pivot table anchored in cell H4. Once we have identified where the source of the data is and where the pivot table will be displayed, you may click on OK. Upon clicking OK, the pivot table field list palette appears to the far right. The palette will allow you to organize your data by defining the X-axis and the Y-axis labels. For our example, we'll be using part number as our row label or our Y-axis. Please click on part number and drag to the bottom where it says row labels. You'll notice that in column H, we now have each unique part number represented. To create our X-axis or our column headers, we'll select Stocking Location, click and drag to Column Labels. This creates our matrix or crosstab organizational environment. Finally, in order to create meaningful information, we select our quantity ordered and drop it in the Values area. To hide the pivot table field list, we either click on the X or toggle off the field list button in the Options ribbon. As we evaluate our pivot table, you'll notice that each of the unique part numbers are displayed. Each unique location is also displayed. Then those data that meet the 2 criteria of intersection are summed, giving a total value. In this example, for RM 13236, there are 13,841 units in Hagerstown, Maryland. And now just for a bit more. Oftentimes when looking at a pivot table, we will evaluate and perceive that one of the results is inaccurate. In Microsoft Excel, we have the capability of drilling down to display the unique data rows that comprise this sum. To achieve this process, you would perform the following actions. Let's say, for example, that part number RM 38375 in Mission, Kansas looks to be inaccurate. We don't agree that there's 18,317 units ordered and stocked in this location. To look at the specific purchase orders that create this total, double-click in the cell and a new sheet will be displayed. In my case, this is sheet 12, and it lists all the data rows, or purchase orders if you prefer, that comprise the total that we previously saw. If we agree with it, you're always given the opportunity to right-click on the sheet and delete. This will bring you back to the original second quarter tab, where not only is your data set displayed, but your pivot table is displayed as well. A pivot table allows you to analyze information in a simple, efficient, and powerful method. Whether it be 25 rows of data, as in our example, or 50,000 rows obtained through a mainframe download, it is as simple and quick as our exercise.